people who you're going to hire is like, most important. As a small business owner, that's what I always think about. And our culture, well, our firm, like we always talk about hire slow, fire fast. So even like, we do our best to hire people based on culture and our values. It doesn't always turn as a good hire. So we need to be transparent, and like, we try to like set the goals and milestone for them so that we can quickly assess, are they really good fit for our company?
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we have another great guest on the podcast, Yuko Tsuchida. And Yuko was born and raised in Japan and went to an all-girls school in Japan, then came to Oklahoma for undergraduate, worked in compliance, did some compliance work for some big financial firms. The work didn't feel like she was really helping businesses and wasn't quite what she's looking for. So then started a CPA firm for about 10 years with a partner. Partnership ended up breaking up, went to Spain, I think, to then get an MBA. Went and worked in Africa and Japan for a bit, and then in 2017 started a new firm focused on tax credits and tax incentives. So with that much as an introduction, welcome onto the podcast, Yuko.
Thank you so much, Devin, for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So with that, I gave kind of the condensed version or the 30-second version to a much longer journey. So why don't we back up a bit in time and tell us how your journey got started in Japan and go from there.
Yeah, growing up, like, back in Japan, my parents had like, small business as well. So I always wanted to like, help small business owners. And aside that, I love math, and like I used to like, compete in the abacus competition. So between those two, I decided like, I want to become a like, CPA and help like, business owners when about I was like 14. So fast forward, another thing was I was in love with Luke Perry at the time. So I decided to come to America and pursue my accounting career.
So now you said, okay, went to school schooling as in Japan, got that education. Now, what out of all the places, what made you decide to come to Oklahoma for undergraduate?
Yeah, so I never came to America before the day I landed here. So my parents said like, okay, we will hire like, counselor who can help us like select like, college in United States. So I gave them like, spill over like what I'm looking for. I said, I want a true American experience, like where there's not much like foreign students. So this person said like, I have an amazing place for you, which was Oklahoma. And I wanted to be close to like, California, like New York, but my American map was in my small like English dictionary. So in the like, small map, like it looked like, closer to like California. So I said, I was sold. And like, after a year later, I got on a plane and landed in Oklahoma, which was culture shock, but it was a great 4 years.
So you say, okay, hey, this will be the true, experience, and you get into Oklahoma, and you studied, got your 4-year degree, and I think as we chatted a bit before, so you're coming out of undergraduate, you've got the degree, and then you went to work with one of the big financial firms in compliance work. Is that right?
That's correct. So I got accounting degree from Northeastern State University in Oklahoma, and then I got my first job with KPMG. And help like, file or prepare tax return for multinational companies like Honda and stuff.
So you say, okay, I'm going to go into doing that compliance work now, and I think you mentioned when we chatted a bit before, so you did the compliance work, and I think it was for about 10 years or no, was it a few years or so? 10 years was with the CPA firm, but how long did you do compliance work for?
About 3 years. And then like, during that time, of course, like I rotated, like they call it rotation. So like, I'll go to different department, like financial audit department and transfer pricing. So I had like, opportunity to kind of like get to know about different tax area and like, CPA work other than like, preparing tax returns as well.
So you say, okay, and do that for a couple years, and you get some great experience. Now, one of the things that if I remember when we talked a bit before is, why you were doing that work and, working for a big business. On the other hand, it wasn't necessarily the ideal setup from the sense that you weren't helping the businesses you wanted, you weren't kind of doing the work you want. So what kind of triggered that, or what was the realization, hey, this may not be the career field or the job for me? What kind of prompted that, a desire for a switch?
Yeah, so during the like me trying out different department, I stumbled across like tax credit, tax incentive in a state and local department. And one of the things, like I love working for a big four accounting firm, and like I learned so much from them. Whenever like I was working on big four accounting firm and like preparing like tax credit study for like larger firm, like who can afford big four accounting for thieves, right? I was like, I was just looking around and talking to a lot of people, and like, people who really needed those tax credit, tax incentives were small to mid-sized business owners, but they couldn't afford to hire big four accounting firm. So that prompted me to like, I love doing these work for larger organization, but I would like to serve like more underserved community, which is like, small to like mid-sized firm. And that's really why I left big four firm and then started the company with my previous former business partner.
So you say, okay, gonna go out, strike it on my own, and do your own firm. And now I think so it makes sense as to why you might look to say, I'm gonna make that change or make that adjustment in the career. And so you go out and you make that adjustment. And then, how did you decide to bring on, bring on the partner? Or how did, was it somebody that you'd already knew, or someone that already had a firm? Or how did you kind of get that business up and going? So I think you guys did a partnership for about 10 years or so before you guys decided to part ways. But how did that get all started with the both of you?
Yeah, sure. So I met Jeff, who was my previous business partner at the in KPMG, one of the party I went to, and one of the reasons I got connected to him was like, I was doing like a rotation at his department. So he was already partner at state and local tax department. So same time, similar time, like, I was thinking about leaving the big four. He was thinking about starting his firm. So we start talking, what if like, we start like, I help him build up like, his business, and like, we become partners. So that's how all things like started. And I was partner with him, and like later on we acquired and like merged with the company. So we were in a business together for about 8 years.
So you say, okay, and without getting into the details, and I always get the, a bit of breakups within partnerships, or just that as always a bit of a breakup. But what made you guys to decide to go different ways, or what made you decide to end that business? Because 10 or 8 years or so is a good amount of time to work together. But was it simply just difference of opinion, difference in direction, couldn't get along anymore, had a different opportunity, or what made you decide to dissolve or go different ways and then go to get the MBA in Spain?
Sure. I think like, I consider him like a long time, like really close friend of mine. One thing, like as we grew the firm, I think culture and like, where we want to go as a company, we couldn't see eye to eye. So as a minority owner, I decided to leave the firm and then really think about what type of culture I want to like create if I ever have like, another firm, and then just take a time off and think about what is really important for me personally and professionally. Because like, since like 22, right after college, like I was working probably like 15 hours a day, nonstop. And truth be told, I was probably burnt out as well. So it was great to like, take a time off, sit back and like went back to MBA. And then another thing I always wanted to do was like volunteer or like work for nonprofit organization in underserved communities. So that took me to South Africa and working with a nonprofit organization, orphanage.
So we say, okay, that, and that sounds like, it's definitely was a good change. And I definitely get, you work a lot of time and a lot of hours, you get burned out, you're wanting to take a break, you're wanting to go a different direction. And so, you step back. And so you go do the MBA in Spain, then you go and work in a bit in Africa, do some of the things in the orphanage, go back to Japan. Now, as you're kind of now saying, okay, I've taken that break, I've taken a step back and, had that experience. What, and I think you worked, in Africa and Japan for a bit, and then 2017 comes around. What made you decide to kind of go back into doing your own firm? Was it, hey, I ran out of money and I have to make a living, or was, hey, I want to go and I want to, I've taken my break and I want to re-engage and kind of get things going again? Or kind of what was the genesis for starting your own firm again?
Yeah, so the reason like I started my firm again, number one, I loved what I do. So I wanted to like, get back into tax credit, tax incentive, and like really help like small to mid-sized businesses. Number two was I think I was like craving for like, can I do this? Can I build my firm like by myself and have a really good culture and people around my company? So those are the two things, like, I jumped back into building this firm and like, it's been amazing. And like, I've been telling like people like this year, we had bad hires, we had a lot of turnovers, but I have to say now we have 8 people in my firm and it's amazing. People are aligned. We love our culture and people, breathe about like, talk about our culture, how great it is at the same time, like, being professional and working hard.
No, and I think that, sounds like, after having the experience of working with other big businesses and doing it with a partner, then you kind of settled into, hey, here the area that is going to be the one that I love and enjoy is going to be worthwhile and kind of where I can add the most value and also have the most enjoyment. So now as you, started your own firm, kind of got that going to 2017, so you now, 4 or 5 years in, how has it gone? Has it, been one where it has been that level of enjoyment, it's been worthwhile and you've loved it? Has it been difficult or rocky go or, ups and downs, or kind of how's it been over the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, first 2, 3 years was up and down. There was numerous time like, is it worth for me to build this firm? Having said that, last year, I think it really turned around our company when I hired like number one, like, business development person. And she has been like, my number two and really striving or shaping our culture. And whenever we go through like hiring either like employee or like, taking on clients, we always talk about our mission, our culture, and like, what type of people I want to work with, we want to work with. And that really shifted our company and the people we are working with as well. And it's getting easier and easier and like, conveying, like, we go into like, not just selling like, tax credit. Before we do that, we talk about what is your like, goal? What are you looking for? What type of partnership, like, would you like to have with us? And so that really like, make it easy to like grow the firm with the right people and right clients. And I have to say, it's been such an amazing and like great experience for like last year.
Oh, well, that's exciting. And it's interesting that, you watch the movies or read the books, and it's always hey, I was an overnight success and everything. And every time you talk with an actual business owner or you do that, first of all, there's always a journey that comes along with it. But even when you're starting your own firm, starting your own business, those first few years are almost always hey, it was figuring out who we're going to help, how we're going to help them, how we reach those clients, what we're going to do, and is this worth it? And so I think that experience definitely resonates, I think, with a lot of experiences that people have, and how it really works out in reality is that there is that difference in that first few years is not always just the easygoing the everybody always thinks it is, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. So that's definitely interesting to hear. Well,
Yeah.
now, as you said, okay, we're in it, 4 or 5 years now. We've got past those initial 2 or 3 years. We've got things a bit more figured out or settled, and we're continuing to grow and expand and kind of continue to offer the areas of service that you enjoy. Where do you kind of see the next 6 to 12 months going for you guys?
Yeah, next 6 to 12 months, we are continuing to grow our company. One is our core business is R&D tax credit and employee retention tax credits. But I come from the background of negotiating tax credit as well with the state. So in California competes tax credits, and there's different tax credits out there. So for us to offer and grow with our clients, we need to bring in much more little bit different skill set of people who can negotiate tax credit, really identify and be up in front of clients investments, so that our clients can maximize their tax credit tax incentives so that they can grow.
No, I think that's definitely will be, as people are always looking to, and it doesn't matter which business you're in, you're always looking to say, hey, how can we reduce our tax liability? How can we save the business money? How can we grow? And I think that some of those tax credits and reducing that tax liability, and also reducing that burden on the business, definitely is an area that will never go away and is always something that's needed, and sounds like a great area to grow into. Well, as we start to wrap up, so that kind of brings us to the, a bit of, or walks us through your journey and even looks a bit into the future. Great time to transition to the two questions I always ask at the end of each episode. So we'll go ahead and jump to those now. First question I always ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
Staying in a bad partnership for a long time. It took me about 3 years to really decide, I want to leave this firm, and kind of taking a step back. I think I knew all along, the partnership started not to work, and it was it was creating toxic environment for our employees. So I take full responsibility of creating that culture between me and my partner, and in addition to that, for our employees. So if I knew better and myself, I will make that decision much quicker for myself, for my partner, and also our employees.
No, and I think, that one's always a hard one, in the sense that I definitely get, hey, we have a partner that we brought on, he's been with me, or he or she has been with me for a while, and we, it may not always be the best partnership, but we don't want to wreck it, or, how do you make an exit, and how do you make that transition? And so you oftentimes stay in that business arrangement because it's been, it's something that and you've been doing it for a while, but it doesn't always make sense. And so I think that that's certainly an easy mistake to learn, but also a good lesson to learn, or an easy mistake to make, but a good lesson to learn, is that, sometimes if you are in a partnership, it's not just affecting you, it affects the firm and affects the employees. It makes it whether or not you have job satisfaction, and whether or not the business is successful. And if it's not working, either look to change it or look to adjust it if possible, or not, then you need to make an exit or make a change. And so definitely a great lesson to learn from. Second question I always ask is, if you're talking to someone that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what'd be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I say people who you're going to hire is most important. As a small business owner, that's what I always think about. And our culture, well, our firm, we always talk about, hire slow, fire fast. So even we do our best to hire people based on culture and our values, it doesn't always turn as a good hire. So we need to be transparent, and we try to set the goals and milestone for them, so that we can quickly assess, are they really good fit for our company.
No, and I think that is it's a great way to to look at it. And I think that you need to. I would say that hiring is always a difficult thing, and it's always
Right.
one where I think everybody thinks that they are great at great at reading people, great at hiring people. And if I was a boss, I'd do it differently. And then you get into it and you realize, finding the right people. And it's not even just are they talented, but are they the right fit for the culture? Do they get along with the coworkers and the culture we have? Do they have the skills? Do they have the work ethic? Do they, and all those things come into it, and it's always much harder. And so I think that is figuring out that process, slowing it down, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and focusing on the people to build your business is a great takeaway and a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up this episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an investor, they want to be an employee, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, or find out more?
Yeah, through our website is the best, and our website address is hitollc.com. So it's hitollc.com.
All right. Well, I definitely encourage people to check out the website, connect, and find out more, because definitely a lot of resources there. And if you're looking to save some money for your business with some tax assistance, definitely a worthwhile connection to be made. Well, thank you again, Yuko, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners, if you have your own journey to tell and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, certainly feel free to go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. Couple more things. If you would, as a listener, if you can make sure to click subscribe, make sure to click share, leave us a review. We want to make sure that everyone finds out about all of these awesome episodes. And last but not least, if you ever need help with your patents, your trademarks, or anything else with your business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Thank you again, Yuko, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much, Devin, for having me.